Right, we're good to go. I mean, Vince, we're good to go whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure for you all to join us on this panel discussion with our CalU esteemed alumni. I'm Vince Wilson, class of 2012 CalU alum and the president of the African American Alumni Association. So thank you all for joining. Thanks to our alums for taking the time to speak to our current students and kind of share about their stories. I would love to pass along to the vice president of the African American Alumni Association to introduce themselves. And then from there, we'll open it up and start our discussion. So I'll pass over to Fred Smith.
All right. Hey, everyone. Fred Smith, Vice President of the African American Alumni Society, also class of 2012, proud graduate of the Earth Science Department. Just wanted to give that a shout out. Also, I don't know if there's anything else I need to give a shout out here before I pass it to Savannah, but just glad to be here with everyone and looking forward to the conversation.
I mean, you can also shout out your fraternity. I forgot to mention. I'm proud member of the Black Kappa chapter of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. Fred can go ahead and shout out his fraternity as well.
All right. Proud member of the Omicron chapter of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated.
Pass over to Savannah.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm gonna pass it over to Shaheed.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. My name is Shaheed Ansari, Esquire. I am an assistant. Well, I'm a former assistant judge. I'm transferring over to private practice, and I also work at the Islamic Scholarship Fund as the program manager for the legal team. I'm a proud member of the Epsilon Kappa chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, and I am the treasurer of the CalU Black Alumni Society. Thank you, everybody, for being here, and I'll pass it back to Savannah.
I'm gonna pass it over to Jordyn.
Hello, my name is Jordyn Reynolds. I'm a current undergraduate student at Penn West University, currently known as CalU. I'm pursuing a bachelor's degree in education, and I act as the Undergraduate Liaison for the African American Alumni Society. And I'm a proud member of the Kappa Beta chapter Alpha Phi sorority.
Thank you, Jordyn. Hi, everyone. My name is Savannah Dorsey. I am the secretary for the African American Alumni Society. I am a 2022 graduate and a 2024 graduate of Penn West, California campus. And I'm also a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Today, it is my pleasure to introduce tonight's moderator, Bria Allen. Bria is currently enrolled as a master's student, finishing her last semester in the Business Administration program here on the California campus. A passion for leadership and community engagement, she serves as a graduate assistant in the Office of CORE, that stands for Community Opportunity, Responsibility, and Engagement. Bria is also the vice president of the Student Association Incorporated Board of Directors, a member of the Student Center Advisory Board, and is also involved in the Penn West CORE Student Leadership Council and the Penn West Leadership Academy. In addition to her leadership roles, Bria is also a photographer who began piloting her photography business right here on campus in 2021, using her creative lens to capture milestones within our community. She's also a 2024 alumna, as she has earned her Bachelor of Science in Business Administration with a concentration in marketing with a minor in accounting.
Thank you, Savannah. And good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm thrilled to have our incredible alumni panelists who will be sharing their insights and experience with us. Before we dive into this conversation, I'd like to introduce our panelists, and I'll ask each of you guys to give your graduation year and program and your current role and career. So first, we'll start with Justin James.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Justin James, proud graduate of CalU, artist formerly known as CalU, now Penn West, California. 2012 and 2014, my master's in 2014 in intercollegiate athletic administration, and my undergrad in sport management as well. And currently I serve as a major gift officer at the University of Pittsburgh School of Business. Thank you.
Next, we have Tania Blanc.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tania Blanc. I am a proud graduate of Cal U, now Penn West. I graduated with my undergrad in psychology in 2020 and my master's in clinical mental health counseling in 2022. And my current role, I serve as a career advisor for a nonprofit in the city of Philadelphia.
Thank you. And lastly, we have Sophia Johnson.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sophia Johnson. I graduated Penn West Cal in 2024, and I will be graduating again with my master's degree in athletic training this May 2026. My current role is an athletic training student, and I'm down here in a small Division III school in Baltimore, Maryland.
Nice. Thank you all for sharing. So now let's get into our conversation. As we commemorate a century of Black history observances, tonight's conversation centers less on achievement alone and more on identity, growth, and evolution. This isn't meant to feel like an interview, it's a dialogue. We're familiar with one another, we walked similar campus grounds, and we shared community. So tonight, let's speak freely, reflect honestly, and allow this to feel like what it is, a gathering of shared experiences. So I'll pose a few guiding questions, but feel free to build on one another's responses. And also for our executive board, feel free to chime in whenever you like. So for our first question, when you hear the theme, a century of being, perspective, presence, and possibility, what immediately comes to your mind?
Well, I can speak to that one. Two things. The first thing is more on a personal level. So, century of being. Unfortunately, it's this month, the first of this month, my grandmother passed away. She was 96 years young, and she was very close to a century. And when she was growing up, she stopped out of school at sixth grade, which is crazy to me. So she grew up in Chatham, Virginia, and she worked on some farms in Chatham. She was what, 12, 13 years old. So I lived with my grandmother for the first 9 years of my life. So she was a person that my mom was already out going to work. She got me up to go to school, get on the bus, do the same thing when I get home. So that gives me perspective. Here I am, got my bachelor's, got my master's. I'm a doctoral student as well at Slippery Rock right now. And to see where I'm at, to see where she was, it'd be like a slap in the face to her for me not to work so hard for all the opportunities that have been given to me because of my education. So the possibilities where I could have been based off of what she did for me and my family is quite crazy. So that's the first thing I think of. And the second thing I think of is I want to shout out Dr. Edmonds. My favorite class, the best class I've ever taken in all throughout my doctoral program, K through 12, African American history was the best class I've ever taken. Thinking about where we were during Jim Crow, Reconstruction era, et cetera, like those are things you don't know unless you take his class. So if you have the opportunity to do so, take his class because you will learn so many things and it will change your life. So because African American history is American history. So not just Black people, talking about everybody. Take his class. So those are the two things that come to my mind when I think of that question.
I would like to piggyback on Justin and before the rest of the panelists. Highly second that take Dr. Evans' class because he definitely opened, my eyes to a lot more of Black history, understanding all the things that did take place. Like never knew about the Nadir period or right after Reconstruction, or that didn't talk about the greatness that was we were able to achieve during Reconstruction. And also want to share my condolences to Justin and your family. But for it to be 100 years, we look at it as such a large number, but it, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that long ago. And we still have folks who have been able to be a part of that transition. And it's a great opportunity to reflect on where we are all at now. There was someone who came before us, and we are literally our grandparents' wildest dream. To think like we all started at Cal, and so where we're all at now all came before somebody else. So like Justin's doing his thing. I remember we were at Cal, and now he's getting a PhD. We're seeing Shaheed, we're seeing Savannah, to Fred, to me and Sophia and Bria, and that. would go on here and whatever thought, you know, whoever wants to go next.
Vince, I don't know if you can hear us, but we can hear you.
So you didn't hear anything I said?
You cut out a little bit towards the end.
Need to upgrade your cricket.
Well, but
Would anybody else like to add that to that question before I move on?
I would. I think to kind of second Justin's point, like my grandmother, she's about 84 right now, and she's told me stories about living with her grandmother who was a slave at some point in her life. So being able to hear those stories and kind of see how they lived and now, where I'm at in my life, like he said, we all have degrees, we've graduated, we're graduating. So being able to walk this kind of path we're walking, it feels like we're walking it for them, like with it, them on our backs. We're carrying them with us and all that we did because we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for everything that they went through. So it's a blessing to see all of us like this, but then also, the legacy of the torch being passed to us, doing the same things for those who are behind us, I think is just really important. So
I'll jump in and say that in 1976, it was made illegal for banks to discriminate against Black people in home ownership. And that was the year my mother was born. My mother is the first person in my family history to own her own house. So it's within a generation, you can see the changes and everything. And I went to school with a lot of you guys, and I'll be real with you, I had no lawyers that I knew of before I became one. But now all of you know a lawyer, and I have gotten calls from some of you. And it's all about the community and being a resource to people. And that's what we are doing, is pushing the value forward, because if any of you on this call are interested in going to law school or interested in taking the LSAT or anything, we're more than welcome to lift as we climb and help the next generation. That's what it's all about. So this time is really important for us to reflect on how far we came and how far we can push each other to keep going. So I just want to put that out there.
And I'll just jump in with a little 2 cents. Again, my condolences, Justin. And I too third, that Dr. Edmonds' class is a super impactful class. If you have a chance, please take it. So for me, when I think about that, I think about like legacy and evolution, and just think about the courage of generations that came, before us, who just existed, persisted, and just created environments for us that weren't necessarily designed for them, but they went through it anyway, right? So for me, being is just not like just identity. It's about presence, it's about purpose, and it's about impact. And, just to Shaheed's point, how he said he never knew a lawyer before he became one. I mean, I never really knew of many therapists who were of my background as well. And until I actually got in the field, I was actually the only Black therapist at my job. So it was just like, okay, this is interesting, but just seeing those barriers and just seeing those barriers where you have to just push through in those areas. So thankful to the generations, but also in honoring where we come from while still like giving ourselves permission to grow into who we are becoming.
Thank you. So, to piggyback off of everything that you all just said, in what ways do you feel the generations before you have shaped how you show up today?
So I'll hop in on that one. Again, taking it back to things I've learned in Dr. Edmonds' class. I had the luxury of going to school, not having the KKK barrel down my neck. Yeah, I can go vote and not have a grandfather clause or a poll tax or anything crazy like that. I can go, in 2020, I was out there protesting, but there was nobody but a fire hose, trying to, get me to stop doing anything like that. But some of those things are still happening in Minnesota and different parts of the country. But I digress. But I'm just saying that those people went through a lot of things, a lot of terrible things, so that we could have the opportunities to do whatever it is that we please. And sometimes some of us, we do take some of those things for granted, like school, like voting. And to me, I would feel like a hypocrite because there are these people that look like us, just like all of us on this screen, that weren't afforded the same things that we were. They say they crawled so we can walk, and which is true. So I feel like we have to honor them by doing. We shouldn't be rewarded for doing the things we're supposed to do, but we still have to show up because again, that's like a slap in the face to them because they went through all these things, and if we aren't willing to take advantage of all the opportunities that have been afforded to us that they didn't have, so that's why I feel like I think about that often. I can't turn my back on those people. So that's how that shapes how I maneuver through life.
I think for me personally, it's just been seeing how they express, how Black people, how we've expressed ourselves in the past. I think so many times we've been told to dim our light and, don't show up this way, don't show up that way. But that's what makes us us, that light, almost like what Justin was saying about them like spraying the fire hoses at us. Like maybe that was them trying to dim our light. Do you know what I mean? So like kind of being I know for me in the field that I'm in, like there aren't a lot of Black people at all. The first Black athletic trainer was certified in 1970. Um, and then just for like women in general, like there are not a lot of Black athletic training people that are women. And I actually work with three other students who are Black and or Black and female. So to see us all show up and show up not with that light dimmed, showing up as Black people, showing up as, kind of champions of the world that we're in, I think is just really important. Just because, like I said, traditionally we've all been told to dim that light, but especially just in the way that the world is right now, like we can't shy away from who we are because we're a culture of belonging and community and togetherness, and that's what we need more than anything right now.
So, how has your lived experience influenced your perspective and how you carry it into spaces today? So, from your own personal experience.
I'm gonna jump in on this one. When I was in law school, I was the only Black man in all of my classes, and I was the only Black man in my graduating class. And a lot of time when I go to court, because right now I'm currently an administrative judge, so I write decisions. And I have people come into my courtroom, and I'm not gonna lie, I wear earrings in court sometimes, and I'm myself, I'm me. You can know me, I'm me. And I get a lot of looks and stares, and I try to push the barrier as much as I can and be comfortable in my space and recognize I do deserve this job, this position, this accomplishment, this whatever, because I worked hard for it. I graduated in my class, whatever. I got the job, I got the degree. It's all about that internal motivation of recognition of you are belonging in this space. And being a minority, and especially in higher education and higher skills, you're going to be seeing less and less people look like you. So being comfortable in your space and pushing that boundary of what an attorney looks like, what a judge looks like, what a physical trainer looks like, what an author looks like, what a teacher looks like. If you push those boundaries with your own authentic self, then other people are going to see you. And I remember one time I had somebody come to my court and they stayed afterwards and they were like, thank you for being yourself. Like you just gave me so much inspiration. And I was like, I didn't do nothing. I was just here. I'm cracking jokes. I'm just being me. But being yourself can be an inspiration to somebody who has not seen themselves in these fields. So don't lose your sense of who makes you you, your culture, and your lived experience and identity. I'm proud to be from the hood. I'm proud to be from a lower socioeconomic background. And I carry with pride. And I truly am grateful to be here.
I'll jump in a little bit. I grew up a little confused when it came to identity and my culture, right? And it wasn't until I got to CalU, I will never forget this. This was my first BSU meeting, and we were talking about just like the African American culture and just like things doing like, growing up Black, things like that. And I never really understood the difference, right? So, for those that don't know, so I am Haitian American, so I grew up differently than my peers, because like I just feel like, like I just couldn't claim that. I was like freshman me, I'm in the school in the middle of nowhere. I don't know where, like what's going on. So, the only thing I knew was just like what I was taught. And I'm just so grateful to have lived an experience in college where I got to learn so many different backgrounds and just so much pieces of history that I wasn't necessarily taught. So it was just an eye-opening experience for me. And then also putting myself in spaces where, yeah, I might have been the youngest in the room, or yeah, I might have been the only Black woman in the room, but I took pride and ownership of that. I actually just had this conversation with one of my students, and one of my students was like, "Well, I'm the youngest at my job. Like, I feel like I shouldn't be there." And I was just like, "Yeah, well, you are the youngest at your job, but be proud that you're the youngest at your job. Like, you have so many people that are fighting to be in that space at your age, and you worked so hard." And for many people like myself that are first generation college students, that didn't really know much, it's like, the people paved the way for us. And, I'm just like very grateful to have lived the experiences that I have by learning and by being in my position to help other students so that they can understand, like, yeah, it's not, it's not a con that you're the youngest, or you're the only Black person, or you're the only person of culture or color or anything like that. Like, be proud of that, own that, and make sure that you own the space that you're in.
So also learning from, previous experience, how did your time at Penn West California, or formerly Cal U, contribute to the way you see yourself in your role in different spaces now?
I'll jump back in. I love college. Okay. I tell my students all the time. I had a time in college, and it wasn't even just about like, it was just like, well, what can you get? Like, where is even California even at? Like, California, PA. And I'm like, listen, just because it got about 500 people and, a couple little stores here and there, that don't mean that it doesn't have some value, right? So, CalU has really shaped me into the person that I am today. And it's not even just like CalU itself, it's the people that I've met, it's the professors that I've met. I was able to learn so much that I carry so many lessons, even if it's lessons from Dr. Edmonds' class, Dr. Brock, from just like different clubs and organizations. I was able to achieve a lot of the things that I have now, because of how I had my time at Penn West Cal U. Listen, it's Cal U to me, okay, guys? So it helped me professionally, it helped me personally, it helped me explore leadership, it helped me explore identity, purpose, and it taught me how to navigate in diverse spaces and to advocate for myself and to step into roles of influences and just lessons that directly shape how I show up, not only in higher education, but for my students that I work with every day.
All right, can y'all hear me better now? Do I still sound like I'm on a cricket phone? Or are we good?
You're better.
All right, thank you. I would say Cal helped prepare me to be in spaces where, like, I went to school growing up in Delaware. It's fairly diverse, but going to somewhere like Cal, it wasn't that many of us in the grand scheme of things. But through that, it did teach me how to really lean in on your network, find your community, and it help you get through those times. So, like, I met Justin. Justin's from Pittsburgh. I from Western PA. I'm from Delaware, and we found our community, and then clearly we've been friends ever since. So I met Justin in 2008, 2009, and it's 2026. But we found a community, and we helped each other get through. Where we were there for our good times. I mean, that was the first time most of us were able to vote. Or the first time we got to vote was with President Obama. We remember what that was like. We also remember some of the pushback that came from that. So it was a very bright moment for us to kind of see how, we kind of grew up in a bubble, like, yeah, we knew people didn't necessarily like us, but it was whatever. But to kind of see some of the blatant racism or disrespect that did occur during that time, it made us even stronger to it. But it helped us teach us about how to navigate in those spaces, as well as being comfortable being the only one in certain rooms, and how do you navigate that, as well as being having the ability to learn from different individuals who may not look like you, who may not think like you, but you're able to navigate it. And that prepared me for being in the spaces that I've been in to where I'm at now, where I can go into different crowds. I can talk to folks who are in rural areas. I can talk to folks who are in inner cities. And we can find that common thread of what brings us together, even though you may have a completely different background than I do. We can find some commonality and still have a good dialogue. And I would say Cal definitely helped prepare me for that. And I'm forever grateful for that time up there. And I don't think anywhere else I would have went would have helped shape me to who I am today.
All right, I'm gonna take this answer in a little bit different direction because who I was at Cal is not the polished, refined, revered gentleman I am today. So I'm sure Vince and Fred would second and third that. And what I mean by that is now that I'm 37, I was there when I was 18. So I'm much more, I'm wiser now. You know, with age comes wisdom, but sometimes age just comes alone. You have to reflect. So I reflected on who I was as an 18 to 22-year-old. And there are still some pieces of that person that I incorporate in my daily, everyday. I still go around, I'll talk to anybody. I do that for a living. I travel to different parts of the country. I was in Florida last week, going back to Florida next month. So I'm always meeting with different types of people. And it's very rare that I actually meet with people who are Black. So there are pieces of me that, yeah, I still have, but I'm more aware of who I am as a person. And when I walk into a room, I understand that there are folks that are looking at me now. I didn't have this superpower before where I'm out here just doing whatever. But that's also a part of being, teenager, early 20s. So I will say, stay true to yourself because, like I said, there are still things that you never know. I'm very audacious. I'm willing to take risks, calculated risks, talk to whoever. That's what I do in general. But channel it differently, and now I turned that into a profession. You know, I was never one that was shy or at a loss for words, and hence why I'm here talking to y'all right now. So no, I just make sure you're true to yourself, and then you'll see, you know, if you're 18 and if you still think like an 18-year-old 18 years later, then you wasted 18 years of your life. So you have to be able to, reflect, and that wisdom will come in time. So just stay true to yourself, but just have a little self-awareness and know, all right, this is who I am. This is what I'm good at. And I'm going to take it and turn it into a profession. So there we go.
So, as you all go into these different environments and spaces, how do you stay grounded and authentic in spaces that weren't necessarily designed with you in mind?
I think for me, it all starts with the why. I think specifically just in the role that I'm in, I'm at a PWI. So there are, of course, like African American students here, but there aren't a lot of us. So really the why is, me stepping into this role, being a vision for everybody else. I mean, people come in and they see me and they're like, whoa, like there's a Black lady that works here. So being able to be that kind of grounding force, that safe space for athletes to come, because I mean, traditionally, healthcare isn't nice to Black people. And for me to be in a space where Black athletes, and honestly, every athlete can come to me and be knowing that they're cared for, knowing that I'm going to listen to everything that they have to say, but also relate to their experience as a Black college student, I think has really just shaped the way that, I perform and I practice athletic training. So yeah.
Anybody want to add anything else? Where I want to make sure I'm trying to keep an eye out for all y'all mute buttons. So we hear a lot today about being present for ourselves and for others, often framed as something empowering or transformative. So from your experience, what does presence actually look like in real life? And has it always felt rewarding, or have there been moments where it felt heavy, uncomfortable, or unclear?
I'll take this one. This one is a little personal because I I got this position, this role to help people, but I realized you can't save everybody. But a lot of your presence is making somebody feel heard, making them feel seen, and then making them feel understood. Like, this isn't injustice. You have been wronged. You are entitled to your rights. I can't solve every case, but I can make you feel like a human being that deserves love and respect. And that's what's very important in our roles. When we're going onto the field, we may not have a win every single day, but when we interact with people, and especially when we're acting in people's lives, we have to make sure that we handle it with a duty of care that is the utmost, because it's important to know that somebody is working for them and they're on their side. And it looks like them, that can speak like them, that can communicate with them, that can understand their plight and their issue. That's very important, and almost just as important as solving the issue is just saying to somebody, you have been wrong. That's a problem. Let's see if we can fix that. And that's really why I do the job. And it's important to remember that it's not about you. I mean, me personally, I'm a tool. I'm just a voice for other people. And I genuinely do enjoy showing up and being myself in those spaces.
I'll add to that. So I feel like sometimes there are times when you have to do the things that you have to do, even when you at least want to do them. Not to say that showing up and being present is something that you don't want to do, but there have been times where I've been asked to do something so I used to work at Cal for 6 years. I worked at Cal, the advisor for Men United, was the advisor for Black Student Union, and I was still traveling then. I had a lot of stuff to do for work, but I knew that I don't know who else is going to do this because they want to do it, but I wanted to do it, so I had to be there for all the students, whether it was the showcase, whether it was a meeting or something, like whatever they need, whatever the students needed, and y'all know, whatever you needed, I was there. Like if I couldn't make every meeting or if I couldn't be at every event, please know that if you needed me, I'm just a call, text away. So I feel like as we as we continue to climb in our careers, it is very important that we send the elevator back down and we uplift the next generation of leaders. And that starts at college, starts at high school, starts at elementary school. That's why, as poll mark of the Pittsburgh alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, we oversee guide right. We were just at Life Male STEAM Academy in Wilkins Township yesterday, putting on financial services, reading to the kids. Next week, we're going to be reading with kids in Pittsburgh with Dr. Wayne Walters, who the Pittsburgh Public Schools Black Men Read. All these things we have to show. I'm the board chair of Khalil Darden's Young Black Motivated Kings and Queens nonprofit. I just, these are things that they're important to me. We have to show up for people. We have to show these young folks who are going to be the leaders. We have to show them that, hey, there's more to life than being sexy red or some athlete, whatever it is. Not that that's not a problem. Get me wrong. Ski, I get it. But listen, I'm just saying you can't be what you can't see. And so we have to be present for them to show them that this is what you can be. There are other things that will get you out and things that you can pour into. So for me, that's where the heaviness comes in a little bit. But at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do. So that's how I look at it.
I'll just jump in real quick. Presence, like, I'm not gonna lie, presence is not always pretty. Okay. So it's not always glamorous, it's not always empowering. Sometimes it really just feels heavy, just like Justin said. And sometimes presence looks like showing up when you're anxious, showing up when you're uncertain, showing up when you're tired, showing up when you got attitude sometimes, but you're still committed. Right. So for me, presence always means being grounded in who I am, right? And just the purpose on why I do the things that I do, even in environments that require constant performance, because sometimes it feels performative. Like showing up feels performative. And I think that's why we kind of like, that's why we're so tired sometimes because it's just like, yeah, okay, sometimes we're just showing up out of routine and not because we feel like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make an impact today. You get out of bed, waking up every day smiling like SpongeBob, but you're just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna do what I need to do today because that's just what I do every day. Um, I mean, it's definitely rewarding, but it can also be emotionally demanding, especially when you are one of very few in the room or when you're the only one in the room. And that's why working with my students every day is so impactful because I don't feel like talking to y'all. Every time y'all ask me, Miss Tanya, what should I do with my life? I'm like, man, I don't know. Like, I don't know nothing. Okay. But like, they look to you because they're just like, well, I know this person has some knowledge. I know they have some background and they are like me, right? So primarily my organization serves Black and Brown students of Philadelphia, and we help them with career opportunities and just helping them get further along in life. But we also face a lot of the social issues in the city that do affect our students very much so, right? So whether it's like we have a lot of students that have like immigrant parents or they are immigrants themselves and whatnot. So when that whole thing happened in Philly, like it took a toll on us, not only just our students, but the staff as well. And it was hard to show up. It was hard to show up even in the schools because we are K through 12 as well. And, it was just like, okay, well, what do I do if they bust through the door? I don't like having to do that as someone who is passionate about what you want to do in your community. Showing up is very much like, yes, it's heavy, yes, it's rewarding, but also recognizing that, it's pros and cons, but you just got to think of the ultimate goal and why you're doing the things that you do.
And going off of what Tania and Justin had just said, I feel like when it comes to presence, I mean, it's uncomfortable. Sometimes we're put in spaces we have no clue why or reason. We're going off of God's grace and God's will, at least from my experience. We get in these places and you don't realize the purpose of why you're put in there until after the lessons learned. I know for me coming to Cal, I am a first generation student. I had no clue about FAFSA, all the things, scholarships, all the things that were at my hands, especially even being a student. I didn't utilize all the tools that I know that CalU offered, I feel like until now. And now working with students and being here, I always say because of the students being that resource, um, I didn't, a lot of opportunities that I had was also by the help of others, specifically like Justin. I was able to get into the master's program or stayed at California because of the opportunity that I got being able to be here and just seeing if it wasn't for the community that was around me or the people that helped, would I have got offered those same things without having that search high and low for it? But being present, I think altogether, not only for myself, but for others.
Thank you, everyone. So when you think about yourself and what you thought you would have become earlier in life, how does that compare to who you are now and what surprised you along the way?
I thought I was gonna be a princess.
So y'all got quiet on this one.
I'll take a stab at it.
Go ahead, Justin.
After Fred called us out. So I alluded to this a little bit earlier. Who I was 20 years ago, not who I am today. But I studied sports. I thought I was going to be working in sports. And I did work in sports for a while, but I realized that I liked studying it and I liked watching sports, but that wasn't enough for me. Whenever I put my head down on the pillow at night, I'm like, what am I really doing? What difference am I making? What impact is there? So now, as a major gift officer, which is a fundraiser, I feel like I'm making a small contribution to the lives of so many students because the cost, as y'all know, we all know, as college is just rising, the costs are still rising. So my job is to go out and find people who have to be honest, lots and lots of money, and they, for tax purposes or for their ego, whatever the case may be, want to give it back to the University of Pittsburgh School of Business. And alleviating that cost of college for students, to me, that's pretty cool. And I did that at Cal too. So along with a plethora of other things that I was asked to do and still am asked to do. I serve on the alumni board still at Cal. So I going into college, you talked about this, Sav. I didn't know anything about FAFSA. I didn't know anything about tutoring. And I think oftentimes, I'm digressing and I'm sorry, but it's a little gripe I have with colleges. They get so used to the majority and they have such resources at hand that like they just think it's second nature. I didn't know what a master's was until my junior year of college, until Dr. Anthony Kane, shout out to Kane, was like, hey, go get your master's. I was like, what's a master's? I don't even know what that was. Like, and I think I tell people that, and they're like, you serious? Like, you're a doctoral student, you didn't know what it was. No, because again, first generation college student. I didn't have that the educational equity that my peers did. I'm learning these things on the fly. You know what I'm saying? So let me get back here real quick. Got me saying, I'm saying on a Zoom here. So code switch real quick. But no, I'm just saying that's where I was at in college. Now this is where I'm at now. Really, it's really a 180. So I'm gonna pat myself on the back. And I'm proud of that. So I yield the floor back to Sav.
I'll take a stab at this. I always knew this was going to be my goal. Like I had this dream. I was going to graduate early from undergrad and law school. Did it. Number one in my class from law school. Who's counting? But along the way, I didn't realize how many people were watching, and that is something that you really don't pay attention to when you're in high school or even in college. But you have the opportunity to inspire people. And I got sworn in the other day, and I've never got so many DMs in my life. I feel like a baddie. I was like, wow. I'm getting likes and DMs and they're hearting my stuff like wow. Like I like it's so amazing to see like the community and the people that are rooting for you and that are also want you to fulfill your dreams. If you have a dream and you speak it to existence, you're going to inspire people and you're going to have people that are proud of you, vicariously living through you, that are just hoping that you do it. So I would say I call it delusional confidence. Have some delusional confidence in yourself and just get it done. And you don't know who you'll inspire to get it done. And I'm in a position now where I'm in a scholarship fund. I have around, I think $300,000 of scholarships that I have to give out for law programs. And I run an LSAT class. So I help people take the LSAT to get into law school. So I'm literally giving back to the next generation of lawyers. And I'm just so happy that I'm in this position. And you see people that I went to school with. I don't know if you got some of you people know Rozzy. She's taking my LSAT class. She's going to go to law school. So like I'm so proud of her and I hope she gets it done. And it's just you see the next generation of people that you're going to inspire by just being yourself and living your dreams. So keep doing it, guys, and you got it.
I'll
Hey,
take.
Shaheed, who wrote you real quick? I just put it in there. Who wrote you a letter of recommendation to get into law school?
I don't know. I feel like it was this bald dude. I was, the Capitol or something, but it was a real good letter and it worked out.
Justin write some good
Not the
letters of
ball, dude.
recommendations.
Main characteristic ball.
Yeah, the ball got it. So, who thought I'd become? I'm gonna be honest. I didn't think I was gonna make it this far. I'm not gonna hold you. I didn't think I was gonna make it this far simply because I didn't know what I was doing in life at all. I'm the proud daughter of immigrant parents, but Lord have mercy, are they a challenge? Okay, if you're not a doctor, a nurse, a lawyer, an engineer, you're basically a disappointment, right? So you can only imagine my mother's reaction when I told her I was going into psychology. And as her oldest daughter. So I was just like, okay, well, I'm the first generation college student. I never had no other like resources or anything. I really am on my own. I really got to figure this out. So when I was younger, I thought I wanted to be a marriage counselor, right? And when I was a therapist, I had this one session where I did couples therapy. And I just sat back and looked and I said, I ain't never doing this again, like ever. And it was just like, yeah, no. So we're just gonna find another career path. And I was like, okay, you know what? I can get into drug and alcohol and mental therapy. I was like, all right, cool. And then I was like in my second to last semester of grad school, I just sat in my office writing notes and I said, yeah, I don't want to do this. So then I was like, you know what? I want to work in a school. So then after graduation, I was fortunate enough to obtain to become a school counselor for kids with autism at a private school, making real good money, right? Hated it. I was like, all right, you know what? We're gonna figure something out. So I literally stopped working for 6 months. I was like, you know what? We're just gonna figure something out. So then I started dibbing. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. That term, right? So I was trying to figure out what essentially I wanted to do because not only am I the oldest, I'm the oldest daughter, I'm the oldest granddaughter, I'm the oldest niece. So there was so much pressure on me. So like Shaheed said, like there's so many people watching you. And I was like, well, I can't be a disappointment now. So something got to shake, right? And I've, since I was a kid, I knew that there were, and didn't know what to call it. Like, I was just interested in so many things. My brain had so many ideas. I didn't know, like, I was always taught that, like, you go to school for one thing, you get a job in that one thing, you do that one thing for the rest of your life. And that was the farthest from the truth. I never knew how multifaceted I can be until like I graduated college. I still didn't know what I wanted to do after graduating with my bachelor's because I did graduate during COVID. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do I'm going to do the best thing that I know how to do, go back to school. So I went back to school. Still didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I got this job that I'm currently at now, and I teach a summer program to transitioning high school students into college. And I was like, you know what? I love this whole teaching thing. Like, I think this is it. This is it, right? I can't tell you if it's going to change in about 2 years or not. But as of right now, like who I thought I'd become, I'm just happy like even in this position to be in so many different rooms and obtaining all of these opportunities. And I'm gonna forever be grateful for, just like my parents paving the way, but then also like the people I've met along the way. And just becoming the person that I am is, the best I could ask for at this moment. I'm still growing, I'm still evolving, but I'm just excited to see where life takes me.
And I'll go next. Um, I too was a sports management major with Justin. We used to be in the trenches together, just figuring this thing of college out. Uh, I had aspirations of being a sports management or athletic director. I mean, my younger self, I would have never envisioned the path that I've been on. I didn't know anything about development, fundraising, or what I'm in now. I remember going to grad school, one, because it was cool to get a secondary degree, but two, I just needed some extra time to figure out what I wanted to do with life. And I was like, well, I might as well go to grad school. And thanks to Dr. Crowley and others who invested in me, I was able to get a scholarship to go there. But at grad school, I told the then AD like I wanted to be an athletic director, and he looked at me and he was like, I've watched you. You're really good at talking to people. People listen, gravitate to you. You should go into development. And I was like, man, I don't know what that is. And he was like fundraising. I was like, you want me to ask people for money? That's crazy. Um, so I was kind of like, I don't know about that. But as I looked more into it and I got my first taste, which was at Dartmouth, I learned that it's not about asking for money. I've always had the ability and love convening people and helping people out. So it allowed me to leverage what I naturally would try to do, which was always try to help people out and kind of serve as a connector between those who have resources versus those who they want to support with resources. And it allowed me to be in rooms that I would have never thought I was in. I mean, one, I went to Cal U. Like, they jokingly called it the Harvard of the mind. I don't know who decided to call it that, but that's crazy. But then I go to then work at an Ivy League institution. It expands my mind to so many different things. I'm in rooms, first time in rooms with millionaires, and some billionaires at that time. And I'm just like, man, this is crazy. Who would ever thought from sitting, it is the only school on the mind. Who would ever thought, that's why it's the Harvard of the mind. Who would ever thought that I went from Cal U in classrooms with Dr. Yarborough, Dr. Miller, Dr. Edmonds, to now sitting in rooms with people who created companies and Fortune 500. And I realized there's not a lot of people who go back to, there's not a lot of people who look like me. Cal prepared me to be in rooms where I didn't look like a lot of people. But one thing I always instilled from those who came before me is I have the abilities, and if I'm in these rooms, I'm there for a reason. and take this opportunity to whatever I learn in these rooms to then share it with people who look like me, who aren't in these rooms, and then help prepare the next person. So I was in these rooms. I helped create opportunities for students who did look like us to raise money for them to attend a, who are able to go to the Ivy League. And then from there, I pivoted and now I'm still working fundraising, but now I work for the Obama Foundation. So the presidential campus that's opening in Chicago, I now work for that and fundraise for that. And again, would have never thought in 1,000 years that one, the first person I was ever able to vote for would then be the person that I then get to work for and get to meet. Never really thought I was met President Obama, and I've had the pleasure of meeting him a few times now, as well as being in rooms with people I've never thought I'd be in rooms with. So a younger me would, if I told him what I do now, would have been like, "You're crazy." But I'm grateful for it because it allows me to, as Shaheed had mentioned earlier, listen as we climb. I'm in rooms to then help other people who may not be in these rooms to get opportunities.
Going based off of what something Shaheed said, he said, you know, you never know who's watching you. I feel like that's one thing that I was always told growing up from my mom. And I knew it stuck with me because I always told it to people as well as I've come in contact. So to go off of that, what is one piece of advice that you were given earlier in life that you didn't fully understand at the time, but has proven to be true as you moved into your next chapters?
I can speak because I haven't said anything so far. Hey guys. Um, one thing my mom said to me when I was younger was that you belong in every room that you are in. Um, she told me that when I was in like third, fourth grade. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm playing with Barbies. I'm enjoying my life, doing whatever I want to do. But being in college and being put in rooms and spaces where it's like, wow, like Jordyn, everyone knows my name. I belong here. I am here. I am getting scholarships. I'm being awarded things because of who I am in the rooms that I'm in. So I feel like that kind of like it wasn't really anything I cared for because in middle school and high school, like I was an athlete, but I wasn't actively involved in much until I got into college and I met certain people like Savannah and Bria and Justin and T to help me merge into those spaces where I can actually grow and be the person.
I know for me, for those of you that have never seen me in person, I stand at about 6'1", so I'm a pretty tall woman. And I've always been told by my parents to take up the spaces they're in. You know, I used to kind of slouch over as a kid, just didn't really want to be seen because I didn't want to stand out. But now I understand that that's not just my height that stands out, but who I am as a person and kind of, you know, my culture, my identity, all of that should stand out. So if there's any advice, it would just be stand out and occupy the space that you're given. Step into the room with your head held high, your shoulders back, and don't ever let anybody tell you who you're not because you know exactly who you are.
No, I love that, Sophia. So I'll I'll bring that from the opposite perspective. So I'm like 5'7", asthmatic, a little sickly. But like I think, you know, be the person you are, right? Like be whoever you are, you bring something to the table. So I'm a little nerdy. I love maps, geography. I went to Cal for GIS. I studied maps for 4 years. So and eventually it provides value. Like you bring something to the table, you bring a unique perspective, you're a leader. Like all of us that are here and everyone who's listening is a leader in a different way, right? And I think that that matters, and we have to remember that, and we're important and we're valued, right? Like it's we can go into these different spaces and we can be the only brown person, the only black person, and we'll feel like we'll start to question ourselves, and we can't do that, right? So we all bring something different to the table, and it's important, and we have to remember that. So just wanted to drop that in. So thanks, guys.
I'll go. Something I've learned a while ago, like many, many years ago, was that the journey is way more fun than the destination. And I never really understood what that meant when I was younger. And it was just like, okay, well, what are you talking about? It just sounded like some like mantra or whatever. And it wasn't until I got older and I started realizing a lot of these full circle moments, especially with me being, so like having many ideas, having many thoughts. I remember my roommate, Cynthia, who was also an alum of Cal, and I remember I was so stuck. I was like, I don't even know if I want to do psych anymore. Like, I thought I wanted to do this. I thought I wanted to do that. And I remember we were sitting in our room and she told me, she was just like, you do not have to stick to just one thing. And I was just like, okay, I don't know what she's talking about, but like, my parents ain't going for that. Like, I need to graduate with some degree and we gonna need to figure that out. And with those two things that I've just learned that like everything happens for a reason. You are where you need to be for a reason. And the amount of full circle moments that I have experienced in these past 2 years alone has been mind blowing, right? And it's like, okay, well, eventually I want to do this. And, I eventually want to become that doctor. I want to become that lawyer. And it's like, it's so much more in your experience than it is just in the title. And I learn that every single day just talking to my students. And, they're so gung ho about like, yeah, I want to become this, that, and the third. But I'm like, always pay attention to what you've been through in life because that's going to teach you more than anything, than any title, any destination that you arrive at. And, just knowing who you are and not letting imposter syndrome, because I'm the poster child for imposter syndrome. And, just being grateful and understanding that your feet are planted in those rooms for a reason. So
I would
Now
say
we
one thing.
are
Go ahead.
okay.
One thing I learned, I don't know, it was probably my mom or somebody, probably my mom, but somebody told me time is going to pass whether you're ready for it or not. And what you do with that time is up to you. So 3 years are going to pass whether you finish school or not. 6 years are going to pass whether you get your master's degree, so your piece, whatever you want to do or don't want to do, time is going to go. I graduated from undergrad 5 years ago, and I feel so old and my knees hurt just thinking about it. And 5 years have passed. And I told myself this year I'm going to start a law firm and I'm going to do the whole thing. And 3 years from now, see how it goes. But 3 years are going to pass, and I have to prove it to myself to stay to my goal and get it done. And time's going to keep going, guys. Stay true to what you want to do, stay true to yourself, and then hopefully reach your journey at the end of the destination. During 15 years. Jeez.
So at this time, we would like to have our audience chime in. So if anyone has a question for our panelists, please leave them in the chat. While you all leave those questions, I do want to ask one more question in the meantime. So if students walk away with one thought, reflection, or a sense of possibility from this conversation today, what would you hope it is?
Would say just to be open to the possibilities of whatever may come your way. Always have the conversation. As someone who talks to everybody, has conversations, many conversations throughout my day, just have the conversation. Always be open to the possibilities of where life can take you because like Vince and I talking about, I mean, we wanted to work in sports, like athletic director. He wanted to be, that's what I wanted to do too. I'm in fundraising now. So like, I'm just saying there are things that can come up in life and don't be opposed to them. You don't necessarily have to lean all the way into it, but have the conversation, see what the possibility could be. And you never know. It could one small thing could change your life because life is to me a combination of all the small things. So have the conversation, be open to all the possibilities that life can bring you.
I would say two things. One, always be teachable. Like always, always be teachable. And if you're a part of a room and you feel like you're the smartest in the room, you're in the wrong room. Like not everybody knows everything. Always learn from like your experiences, learn from other people, and just always remain teachable, because that is something that I learned in high school. And the more you learn, the wiser you get, and the more wiser decisions that you make. And, I hope that all of you continue to just strive and thrive in these rooms that you are put in. Know that it's not a mistake that you're in the room. Know that you are there for a reason. Know that it's not a mistake, right? And just be rooted in who you are. Take all of your experiences and share them with others. And always just lean on to your community, lean on to the people who support you, and just always make sure that you are who you are, and you always make sure that you put your best foot forward.
I want to piggyback off that. So, all of us are in the rooms. We're in not by mistake, right? Like they don't want us in the room, right? Like by definition, they do not want us in the room. We're there because we're the best option. We are good. We are leaders. Say it again. We are leaders. We're supposed to be here. We're doing our best. And again, like keep good company. I got Justin. I got Vince. Vince is my family, so I didn't have a choice. But Justin also didn't give me a choice. He said we're the two black folks on the fourth floor at Johnson Hall. So that was that. But keep good company, right? I think that is the biggest thing. Iron sharpens iron. Um, you know, keep folks that are honest with you. Keep folks that are diligent. Keep folks that want to work just as hard as you, and you'll figure it out along the way. Like it's not going to be a direct path. Like I knew what I wanted to study in college, and it took me 4 years to actually be able to apply that professionally, right? So I think keep your vision, keep your group, keep your family, and just chip away, and it'll work out, right? So that's that's all I got for you guys.
As we wrap up, there are two questions I wanted us to get to. There's one in the chat that says, as proud as you are, have you ever had to bite your tongue or swallow your pride and listen to the complete question before properly answering the question?
All the time. But first, Miss Darla, hello. It's great to hear from you. But yes, I always say clear is kind, right? So if I don't have the full information, I can't give a clear, kind answer. But also that just comes with, again, like I was talking about with age, wisdom, reflection. There are often times where if I get someone says something to me like, "Oh, you speak so well," and I want to say as opposed to what, but I don't, because I have a job and I have a mortgage I got to pay for. So I start reflecting, like, if I act out how I want to act out, what are the consequences? Because all actions have consequences. So it just takes patience, a little bit of therapy, and God and time, and you'll be just fine. So again, clear is kind. You always want to be kind, so please be clear to me. That's how I always look at it. But yeah, I'll yield the floor back.
I'll talk about this from a Black woman's perspective, because that stereotype of the angry Black woman and, having to bite your tongue and, not wanting to come off as like, smart or but with an attitude. So having to balance that out, but still remaining firm in what you say has been a learning curve. I'm pretty sure if I could say for a lot of people in here. And, it is a struggle, but once you learn how to master that, you are going to be extremely dangerous in a good way. You are going to be in those rooms where they're going to expect you to be, the loud and like, the unhinged and, version of you, but ultimately they don't know who you are, and it is your job to make sure that you not only are you yourself, but you stand firm on your boundaries, you stand firm on what you need to say. And I know code switching is very heavy on a lot of people, and some people still have. Sometimes I still have a little trouble with code switching, but I have been. I would say I'm very grateful for the past couple of years of showing me, like, you don't always need to code switch, but as long as you're respectful, as long as you're kind, it's neither here nor there, but as long as you're proud of how you handle the situation, that's what matters the most.
And one more question from the audience. Shaheed, this one's actually directed towards you. Is there anything that you would do differently today?
So I graduated undergrad and law school early, and I would take it back. I'd take my sweet time. I miss my friends. Oh, Tanya was so right. The journey was so fun. It's the broke adventures that you have that's really what all that matters. Like, sure, you're gonna be successful whatever you do eventually, but those core memories of having fun and struggling out with your friends, something that's very important. And I want to enjoy being broke was very fun. Being broke with your friends and they all live very close by was very fun. But I'm gonna say something that I want to direct to the other question. Another thing that I would have learned is something about code switching and also about not office politics, guys. Office politics are real. Wish somebody would have told me this going to the workforce. A lot of people may be insecure about your ambitious ego or greatness. And sometimes you may have to dim your own star, not to shine too bright, not to step on anybody's toes, not to be a brown noser. It's really important to remember that we exist in a space of, don't want to say white supremacy, white majority, okay? And that can impact hiring decisions and how you show up. So code switching is important. Being presentable to a certain extent is important. Being um agreeable. Can't get mad. I can't, what are you talking about? Well, I understand what you're saying. Like you have to really, temper your attitude and achievements and always try to, you know, work twice as good path recognition, and it's still true to this day. So please be mindful when you enter these workplaces that you are a representation of entire race. It's unfortunate that it is, and carry yourself like that in mind. Because if you are the only Black person in the room or the only person of color, only Black woman of color in the room, you are a representation of everybody that will come after you. So it's very important that you set the standard and you are mindful of not only who you are, but what you represent in the moment. And it's tough. And sometimes they'll try your nerves, but take a deep breath and remember how far we came. If I could go day back, man, I'd have so much fun. I'll miss you guys.
Well, I say one thing. This is a representation of our lived experiences because I've been to a Houston, I've been to an Atlanta, I've been to a Dallas, in certain areas where you actually have to search to see someone that doesn't look like us. So this isn't everywhere. This is just if you are probably Penn West, California, Cal U alumni. This is just what it may be. But I'm just want to say that's not the case everywhere. So I just want to throw that out there.
Well, thank you to all of our panelists for your powerful insights today. Before we close, I want to leave you with this quote from the brilliant Toni Morrison. If there's a book that you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it. Remember that. Let that remind us that our lives, our voices, and our presence are part of the story still being written, and you don't have to wait for permission to exist fully or to imagine what's possible. Thank you all for sharing all of your insights today.
Thank you again for the panel discussion, for all the alums who came back, and we are looking forward to doing more of these. So if you're an alum and you want to be part of this panel, please feel free to email me, Savannah, or whoever if you got one of our numbers, text us, and we'll be happy to do this more frequently so we can continue to build this bond with students and alum and really kind of show progress we've been able to make. So appreciate you all for joining and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Real quick, I might ask if there are any young men who are interested in Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, please email me.
All right, in the call.
James 1020